Hey, welcome to NASA Edge.
An inside and outside look
at all things NASA.
Oh, that's gonna leave a mark. Welcome to NASA Edge.
An inside and outside look at all things NASA.
We're here at NASA Langley Research Center's Landing and Impact Research Facility,
where for many years they've tested all kinds of vehicles.
And we have a new addition to the facility, which is the Hydro Impact Basin.
Which you'll see in a little bit is a big, giant test swimming pool.
And right behind us is the Orion Multi-Purpose Crew Vehicle, or MPCV, test article that's going to be dropped in the pool today. We're going to be doing a water landing test. But before we do that, we had a chance to catch up with some of the project managers from Johnson Space Center and Langley Research Center on the Orion MPCV at the ribbon cutting ceremony.
NASA is on a reinvigorated path of exploration, innovation, and technological development, leading to an array of challenging missions and destinations.
We're here at Mark Kirasich, who's a Deputy Project Manager for the Orion Multi-Purpose Crew Vehicle at NASA Johnson Space Center. How you doing?
Great.
Hey, tell us about, what is MPCV all about?
The Multi-Purpose Crew Vehicle is one of two key elements of our country's new human space exploration program. The Space Launch System is the rocket, and the MPCV is the crew capsule. It's a 5-meter capsule, slightly bigger than the Apollo, which was a little bit less than a 4-meter capsule. Weighs about 20,000 pounds, seats 4 crew for the duration of the exploration mission.
Now, the whole idea behind MPCV, let's say we're going to Mars one day. I mean, will that capsule itself actually go to Mars, or is that the capsule that will be in low Earth orbit and they'll go into a bigger spacecraft heading to Mars?
Yeah, MPCV will not only carry the crew to and from the surface of the Earth, it will support the crew during the exploration missions. To do an exploration mission all the way to Mars, there will have to be additional elements beyond the MPCV and the SLS to augment the capabilities of the spacecraft for that trip.
Now, during the Constellation days, Orion was the vehicle, and now it's being morphed into MPCV. Has it changed at all since the early Orion days?
When we transitioned from Constellation to the new exploration program, we reevaluated all the requirements for the human vehicle, what the vehicle needed to do to go visit other destinations, including near-Earth objects, Mars, the Moon. And amazingly enough, there was so much flexibility built into Orion, the requirements were a perfect fit for the new exploration program.
The gantry has been repurposed from the time of the lunar lander to drop an aircraft to now the pool here. How did we come up with the Hydro Impact Basin?
Well, basically, Orion had made a decision to switch from a land landing to water landing. And at that time, there was no facility in the world that could do swings and do swings into the water. There's a lot of facilities that do vertical drops in the water, but we really needed to have a true landing scenario where you actually have to swing and drop in the water.
The Orion Crew Vehicle is similar to that of the Apollo vehicle.
Right.
How did they test for splash tests with Apollo?
Actually, they did the same type of test. They built a water basin over in California in Downey, and they swung with a carriage swing parallelogram just like we have here, and they swung and dropped the Apollo into the water basin.
How important is it to actually have facilities like this to conduct water landing tests?
Oh, you know, real tests are critical, super important to the development of any new spacecraft. And this is a very unique facility here. It allows us to do two things. First of all, it allows us to repetitively drop the test article so we can do tests over and over and over. And also, with a gantry behind me, it allows us to carefully control the conditions at which we drop the spacecraft. Things like its vertical velocity, its horizontal velocity, and the angle at which it hits the water are all very important parameters. And we have to vary each of these parameters to explore what we call the envelope, the operational envelope of the Orion spacecraft.
When you look at the pool here, you have these markings back here on the back. What are they used for?
They're called photogrammetry targets, and so we can use those as optical measurements. We put targets on the actual test vehicle, dots, black dots, and with those two optical targets, you can determine the velocities and test conditions at release. The water basin, its importance is really for calibrating simulation models. We can do more simulations very cheaply rather than doing a lot of drop tests. You still need tests to validate your models. And so this is the purpose of the basin, is to help validate our models and verify that we know how to simulate water landings.
Now, do you see it maybe an eventual water landing test in the ocean at some point in the future? Or?
We don't have that in our plan. We can accomplish everything we need to do right here at this facility.
Well, when do we expect to see MPCV in flight?
Well, our current flight test is planned for the late 2013, early 2014 timeframe. We're working with our headquarters colleagues and our partners at the Marshall Space Flight Center who are developing the SLS to sync up our schedules and our budgets to develop the full schedule all the way to the first human flight. But we anticipate our first unmanned test flight in late 13, early 14.
Beyond tests on the multi-purpose crew vehicle, are there any future uses for it?
Oh, there's a lot of uses, especially over in the helicopter rotorcraft community and also in the aerospace community. And I know that Lisa Jones, the facility head, she's got several aerospace companies that are interested in dropping their aircraft here as well. And we can accommodate those types of sizes as well.
So the life of the Hydro Impact Basin will outlive the Orion in Return to Space program?
Most likely it will. It'll still be here 50 years from now.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
You're watching NASA Edge, an inside and outside look at all things NASA.